I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. I spent exactly 50 years of my life chasing what everyone calls success, and everything you think you understand about it, about careers, houses, the so-called American dream, is completely wrong. The worst part? The people who should have told you this, your parents, the ones who came before you, society itself, either didn't know or they bought into the same illusion I once did. You see, I lived half my life believing that if I just had the title, the good income, the nice house, and praise from colleagues, I had won. I thought I had life all figured out. But then, at 52 years old, an event happened, one moment strong enough to shatter everything I thought I knew, and strong enough to expose the truth that I had been living wrong for decades. What I realized in the 21 years that followed changed how I see time, the meaning of life, and what is truly worth holding on to when you're nearing death. But before I tell you what happened, there's one thing you need to understand. I'm not saying these things to sound profound or to make you think I'm wise. I'm doing this because I don't have much time left, and you do. There are things you need to hear right now, before you repeat the exact path I took and lose the exact things I lost. Not for me, but for you. I grew up in a small American town where people always said that if you wanted respect, if you wanted to be somebody, there was only one way. Work hard, climb fast, and never let yourself fall behind. I believed that from the age of 23, when I got my first real job. I entered the world with a foolish but burning determination. I had to prove I was worthy. I had to succeed at all costs. So I started years of working from morning to night, putting in overtime until colleagues joked that I slept at the office. I chased every quota, every contract, every promotion like if I missed a beat, my whole life would collapse. And so I climbed, became a manager, then a department director. Salary kept rising. Retirement savings swelled. I bought the suburban house with the lawn I mowed every weekend, and the brand new SUV. Everyone admired. I was proud of all of it. I thought I had done it right, that I had succeeded, that I had become the model of the American dream. But there was one thing I didn't realize, or maybe I chose not to see, that while I was busy racing forward, I was leaving my family behind. The dinners I missed, the parent-teacher meetings I didn't attend, the birthdays where I showed up for a few minutes and then buried myself in my phone to handle work. My wife got used to eating alone. My kids got used to having a dad who was barely there. But I still didn't see it, or I wouldn't let myself see it. Then one winter evening, as I drove home after a long day, everything changed. It was dark, the road was slippery, and I was so tired, I don't even remember if I ran the red light, or the other car came first. All I remember is a huge impact, a deafening crash, then blackness. When I woke up, I wasn't in the car anymore. I was on a stretcher, staring at the flickering fluorescent lights of the ER ceiling. They wheeled me away. I heard doctors speaking quickly, machines beeping constantly. My body felt like it wasn't mine anymore. They said I needed immediate surgery. I just remember wanting to call my wife, and then everything went dark again. The surgery lasted 12 hours. 12 hours that I later learned my wife spent sitting outside, not eating, not sleeping, just waiting to see if I would live. And my youngest son, he didn't come. He told my wife he couldn't cancel the business trip. I don't blame him. I had put work above family for years. Maybe he was just following my example. When I woke up in the ICU, the first person I saw was a doctor standing by the bed. He looked at me, shook his head gently, and said a sentence I still remember word for word. "You're very lucky." I lay there, covered in wires, throat burning, head spinning. But one question rang clearer than anything else. If I had died that night, what would be left of me? Not the title, not the money, not the suburban house, or the expensive car, and certainly not the meetings or projects I had sacrificed my whole life to complete. I realized this brutal truth right there on that hospital bed, breathing through a machine with a heart that had just been saved. I had lived wrong for 50 years. And the scariest part wasn't that I almost died. The scariest part was that if I had died for real, maybe no one would have truly missed much. Looking back at everything I had chased, for the first time I asked myself, was that kind of success really success at all? When I got out of the hospital and went home, I began to see everything differently, as if someone had wiped away decades of dust from my eyes. But the truth I saw then wasn't beautiful or gentle. It was harsh enough to make me want to turn away. In 50 years of chasing a career, I had missed too many things that nothing in life can ever replace. I remember vividly the day my oldest son graduated high school. It should have been one of the proudest moments of a father's life. But that day the company had an important meeting, and I convinced myself just this once. I sent a congratulatory text, thinking he would understand. To this day, I still remember the look in his eyes when I watched the graduation video on my phone that night, his eyes searching for me in the crowd, but my seat was empty. Then there was the time my mother was in the nursing home. The doctor called saying her condition was worsening and she wanted to see me. I rushed to arrange it, but I still lingered for one more meeting. One meeting I can't even remember what it was about now. When I got there, she no longer knew who I was, and just a few hours later, she was gone. I wasn't there. I didn't hold her hand. I didn't say goodbye. I just stood in front of the room. I had arrived too late, for as I always arrived too late for the important things. The family vacations I always promised to enjoy with my wife and kids, but that turned into days of me locking myself in the hotel room, opening my laptop and zooming until late at night. I remember once my daughter knocked on the door, ice cream in hand, and said, "Dad, come to the beach with me." I replied, "Go ahead. I'll come after this meeting." The meeting dragged on, and when I finally stepped out, the sun had set. She was asleep, and the ice cream had melted in the trash. My wife, who had been with me since we had nothing but a tiny apartment and 2 old chairs, gradually became a single mother inside our own marriage. She raised the kids, taught them, drove them everywhere, attended events I promised, "Next time I'll go with you." She grew stronger, more independent, and at the time I saw that as a relief, because it gave me an excuse to work even more. I didn't see that every time she managed on her own, the distance between us grew wider, and my kids, they grew up, they got used to seeing me as a fleeting guest, not the pillar of the family, and all of it became so familiar that I no longer noticed what was slowly falling apart. There's one image that still follows me like a shadow. My desk, a big solid desk, piled high with documents, contracts, reports stacked so tall, they blocked the light from the window. But you know what? On that desk, the place I spent most of my life, there wasn't a single family photo, no picture of my wife, no picture of my kids, no picture of my parents, nothing but work. As if my life consisted only of that, and maybe it did. For many years, the deepest pain came on a seemingly ordinary evening, when my oldest son said, in a voice that wasn't angry, wasn't blaming, just sad, "You always said you'd have time someday." But that day never came. I didn't know what to say. No excuse was kind enough. No reason was strong enough to erase the feeling that I had betrayed the people who loved me most. Sitting alone in the living room that night, I realized a truth I had avoided my whole life. I hadn't just missed time, I had missed the chance to build deep relationships with my own family. I miss the chance to be close to my children, to share with my wife, to listen to my parents, to be there when they needed me most. And worse, I miss the chance for them to know how much I loved them. Not because I didn't love them, but because I wasn't there. I had lost the most important thing, long before I understood how important it was. And that is a pain that even now, sometimes I still don't know how to forgive myself for. There are things in life that once you miss them, you think you'll have another chance, that there will be a next time, that people will understand, forgive, wait for you. But the truth is, some moments only happen once, just once. And when they pass, they don't come back, no matter how much you regret it. I learned that lesson the hardest way. Many years ago, my wife and I planned a cross-country road trip. We had talked about it for years. The small towns we'd visit, the roadside diners, the mornings waking up in an old but cozy motel. She was so excited she even printed a map and marked all the places she wanted to stop. But that very week, the company announced an important project with a tight deadline. I told her, "Can we postpone it a week? Just this once." But that next week never came. Projects followed projects. Deadlines followed deadlines. In the end, the map stayed in the drawer, and we never took that trip. To this day, I still keep that map. The folds are yellow, the one she wrote when she was moved to the hospital, knowing she didn't have much time left. She asked a nurse to give it to me. But that day I was at a conference, and I just put the letter in my briefcase, thinking I'll read it when I have time. I never had time. She passed away 3 days later, and I only read the letter after her funeral. The handwriting was shaky, the ink smudged in places. In the letter, she only wrote, "I'm proud of you, but I wish you would slow down a little and enjoy life." I folded that letter away, but its words have never left me. My daughter once performed piano in 8th grade. She'd practiced for weeks, so excited. On the day of the recital, she wore the blue dress my wife bought her, hair neatly tied, hands trembling slightly with nerves. I had promised I would be there, but then the company had an important call with a partner. I told her, "Dad will be there, I promise." I did come, but late, after she had already performed and was packing up her instrument. When I walked in, she just looked at me and said, "It's okay, Dad," but I knew it wasn't okay. Things like that are never okay. My relationship with my brother was the same. We used to be so close growing up together, sharing every cookie, every fight, every endless summer. But then we both got busy enough that we stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped asking how the other was doing. We became distant relatives with the same last name, and I let it happen as if it were natural. Even on my father's last Thanksgiving, I only called for 5 minutes before turning back to my laptop screen. I remember saying, "Next year I'll come home," but there was no next year. My father passed away that spring, and I added one more regret, one more broken promise, one more next year that never came. I missed it all, slowly, steadily, almost familiarly. My children grew up without me. They learned to tell stories to Mom, to find comfort in Mom, to ask Mom's opinion. I only appeared in fleeting moments, like a guest who stops by and then hurries away. My wife got so tired she no longer even wanted to argue. Do you know when a marriage is most in danger? Not when two people fight, but when one person no longer has the energy to fight. She went quiet, and I didn't realize that was her last cry for help. My family gradually became strangers, living under the same roof. We still ate dinner together when I was there, still celebrated birthdays, still asked each other, "How was your day?" But everything was superficial, surface level, like we were playing the role of a family, rather than actually being one. I remember one evening, sitting alone in my study, looking around the big house I once saw as the reward for my efforts. But that house echoed with emptiness. No laughter, no warmth, no intimacy, just me, and the heavy silence of everything I had missed. And then I asked myself, I spent my whole life chasing success, but what was that success for, when in the end I had no one to share it with? My desk was piled with papers, contracts, reports, but not a single family photo. And I realized my life was just like that desk, full of things I thought were important, but empty of the things that truly mattered. That was when I understood that some losses can never be recovered, and some prices only come when it's too late to pay. After all those crushing regrets, I knew I couldn't keep living the same way. That accident didn't just break bones, it broke the illusion that I still had plenty of time. I looked back at myself, at the family that had grown distant day by day, and realized that if I didn't change right then, I would lose the rest of my life too. So I left the senior management position I had spent almost my entire life climbing to. I switched to part-time work, making time for things I had always treated as secondary. For the first time in decades, I had mornings not dragged out of bed by an alarm clock. I had afternoons not chased by emails. I began relearning how to be a father, a husband, a real human being. I remember the first time I asked my son, "Want to go fishing with Dad?" He looked at me like I had just told a joke. 20 years and I had never invited him to do anything. But he nodded. Not enthusiastically, not overjoyed, just a small nod. But for me, that was a turning point. That morning, we stood by the lake, silent more than talking. But that silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people learning to get to know each other again from the beginning. When my son caught his first fish, he turned to me and smiled. That smile almost made me cry. We didn't fully repair everything right away, but I felt something I'd forgotten for years. My son still wanted me in his life. With my wife, things weren't easy either. You can't walk into a marriage worn thin from decades of emotional absence and expect it to heal on its own. But we started with very small things. I washed the dishes after dinner. I sat and listened to her stories without glancing at my phone. I asked her where she wanted to go, what she wanted to eat, how she wanted to live the remaining years of her life. Eventually, we decided to take small trips, the ones I used to cancel at the last minute. We went to the Grand Canyon. She stood at the rim, wind in her hair, the afternoon sun casting a soft golden light on her face. I looked at her then and thought, I should have been here with her years ago. We went to Yosemite, to Santa Fe, trips that weren't luxurious, weren't extravagant, but full of presence. I was there, truly there. No laptop, no email, no deadlines, just us. At home I learned to cook. My first dish burned. The second was so salty, no one could eat it. But the whole family still laughed. I started walking every morning, smelling the cool air, watching the sunrise instead of staring at a glaring phone screen. I tended the backyard garden, the patch of land I hadn't bothered to step into for years. I learned guitar. My fingers hurt like hell in the first weeks. But then I played my first chords, and it felt like I was learning to touch life again. And most importantly, I learned to say the words I had been afraid to say my whole life. I'm sorry. I miss you. I love you. Words I should have said 30 years earlier. At first they were awkward, clumsy. But gradually they became words I said with a sincerity I hadn't had before. The 21 years since that accident became the first 21 years I truly lived. Not existed. Not chased. Not proved. Just lived. And loved. But even as life got better, even as I felt closeness returning, a quiet ache still followed me like a shadow that never leaves. It's the feeling of if only. If only I had understood this earlier. If only I had stopped sooner. If only I had seen what mattered while I was still young enough to change. You can repair many things in life, but you can't turn back time. You can rebuild a broken bridge, but you can't recover the years already lost. I know I'm lucky to still have a chance to make it right. Even late, but not everyone does. And every time I sit with my guitar, watching the afternoon sun stream through the window, I wonder if I had known this at 30, what would my life have been like? I'm 73 years old. I don't have much time left. I feel it every morning when I wake up, when my knees creak a little, when it takes me a few extra seconds to get out of bed. I know my clock is running its final laps. But you are different. You still have time, if you start right now. And that's exactly why I have to tell you these things. Right now, before you lose what you can't get back. Success isn't wrong. I would never tell you not to try, not to strive, not to dream big. Striving is beautiful. But when success becomes the reason you distance yourself from family, when it steals the moments you should have with loved ones, when it leaves you living in a beautiful house with an empty heart, then it has no value at all. It took me 50 years to understand this, and I pray you don't need that long. If you still have parents, call them. Not a text, not tomorrow, call today. They won't be there forever. If you have children, hug them a little longer tonight. Look them in the eyes when they talk to you. Really listen. Kids grow up faster than you think, and by the time you turn around wanting to make up for it, they'll have their own lives. If you have old friends you haven't seen in a while, pick up the phone and invite them for coffee. Friendships, once neglected, wither like plants without water. If you keep saying someday I'll take that trip, you're lying to yourself. Someday is the biggest black hole that swallows entire lives. Book the ticket. Go live. Don't let 50 years pass, and one day look around and realize you missed the most important things. I once thought I could handle both career and family, but I couldn't, because I only chose one, and I chose wrong. I can't turn back time, but you can stop yourself from following the same tracks. I can't change yesterday, but you can change tomorrow. I'm saying all this not to scare you, but to wake you up. Life isn't as long as you think. The people you love aren't there forever like you assume. And time, the one thing we can't buy more of, is passing faster than you realize. So be honest with yourself. Look at the life you're living. Look at the people you're taking for granted. Look at the things you're postponing. And then ask yourself, what will you do with the time you have left? If what I've shared resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the stories I still want to tell. And hit follow so every lesson I learned through a lifetime can reach you right when you need it most.